What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Collier, and this is my last meal.
Every person has exactly two things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die. Today's guest is 7-time Grammy award-winning multi-instrumentalist who sold out theaters and arenas across the globe while working with some of the world's biggest artists. He and I also happen to have the same amount of violin playing experience. Jacob Collier, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. When you had your 2 years of violin playing, did you also hover the bow above the strings during the recitals because you were so bad and you didn't want to drag down all the other hardworking boys and girls?
I'm pretty sure the first time I tried to play the violin, I tried to play with the wood of the bow.
Nice.
Which actually is an interesting sound, turns out, but not the way that people usually do it.
I just could only make the screech of an owl come out of it.
Yeah, well, the screech of an owl is underrated, you could say, but it's definitely the first stop for every violin player on Earth is to go, and then it's just like, from there you keep progressing.
Have you thought about your last meal before?
I've never thought about my last meal before. This is a slight tangent, but to me, one of the essences of being creative is the collision of unlikely things together. Right, you take this thing and this thing, they never usually collide, but today they're gonna collide.
Did you find any similarities in like arranging this last meal as you would arranging a musical piece?
100%, yeah, 100%. When it comes to food, I think there's this very, very relatable sense that everybody experiences, as you said, everyone in the world eats. It's like everyone knows the feeling of flavor. Everyone understands that sense. My job as a person, not usually with food, but my job as a person is to find those kind of satisfying like collisions.
Well, let me pitch something to you then. You said after your latest album, Jesse Volume 4 came out, you can finally start your career. You didn't say your career in what? I trained you to be a chef, you trained me to be the world's greatest violinist.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh.
I think we can make this happen.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm down with that.
How often do you think about death?
I think I've thought more about it in the last few years than I used to when I was a child. Though I suppose when you're a child, you always think about the world's biggest problems as though they're just part of your day. But yeah, it's something I'm not often asked about, and it's going to be fun and a privilege to get to think about that today with you.
And it always goes down a little bit easier with some Almdudler. That's what I've always said.
Had you ever heard of Almdudler before today?
No, I did some research on it, and I cannot wait to. It's Austria's most famous and popular herbal lemonade since 1957.
Oh yeah.
Not a sponsor yet.
No, not yet, but here's hoping.
You ready to get to the first course?
I'm so ready.
Jacob, for the first course of your final meal on this earth, we have the yellowtail crudo with ponzu sauce, jalapeno, and cilantro from Nobu in Malibu. We also have the tuna toro tartare, a little bit of caviar on top and some soy around it. And then in a stark departure, we have pigs in a blanket. Now this is pastry from a can, where it's meant to be, wrapped around pre-made sausages that came vacuum sealed, of course. And then to wash it all down, some Grand Marnier, the finest of French cognac, started in 1822. Tell me about this incredible panoply of foods.
Wow, okay, well, so the honest truth is I did not think too much about the combination, other than that I just love all three things.
I will say the way this works, to break the fourth wall here, is you send us just a brick of text of all your favorite foods that you want in your last meal, and then we try and sort of arrange it and remix it as we see fit.
Right.
So this to us was sort of like a bit of an appetizer selection.
Exactly. I can see how you got here, and it is very exciting to me. So pigs in blankets, I always think about Christmas Day at home, because that's where pigs in blankets originate for me. And it's one of the main things at Christmas that I take charge of myself. Like I'll take a sausage and I'll wrap it in bacon and you put it in the oven and it's like my thing.
Yeah.
Which is always really exciting. So the last round of pigs in blanket was literally Christmas Day 2024.
Is that the depths of your cooking experience?
I have very little cooking experience, so that is pretty much as deep as I'll go.
We have a long road ahead with my violin and your cooking, Jacob.
It's going to be a journey, but I'm strapped in for it.
Please dig in, enjoy.
Thank you. Oh, amazing. But I'm gonna start here because this is where it's at. Thank you so much, everybody who made this food.
Cheers.
Last meal ever. Wow.
I know. Did it have you nervous at all?
To die or to eat?
More to die, but some people are nervous about eating on camera.
Dying, I mean, it's bound to happen.
Yeah. I want to ask really quickly about the Grand Marnier, because in a 2022 BBC documentary, In the Room Where It Happens, there's a shot where there's a bottle of Grand Marnier next to your computer.
Yeah.
And the next shot, it's mysteriously gone. Is there a story there, or am I reading way too much into it?
You're reading way too much.
Fantastic. You just enjoy Grand Marnier.
I love Grand Marnier. That bottle was a gift from a friend. It's like one of the miniature bottles.
Yeah.
I very rarely drink alcohol in the studio. I mean, I don't drink much alcohol anyway. If I drink alcohol, it's because I just love the taste so much that I must drink it.
I have to ask about that because alcohol is a poison. I'm fascinated with the way that like biology, creativity, subjectivity of taste interact with food. Alcohol is literally a poison. Your body should want to reject it. And I think if you took somebody in a vacuum without all the cultural meaning, they would taste alcohol and just go, blah. Whereas they would drink maybe a Capri Sun or grape juice and say, that tastes good.
Yeah.
What is it about alcohol that you actually enjoy?
Potentially contrary to most people in my field, I wouldn't say I drink alcohol to loosen up my tongue or access my creative flow. I've always found since I was very small, there's a way of getting to a state that I would call like alpha state, which is a state where there's kind of no obstructions and like absolute
Is that a reference to
flow.
alpha brainwaves? Or?
I first encountered the term as a state that all people go into right before they fall asleep and right before right after they've woken up. Incidentally, it's a state that all kids are in up to the age of 5, like constantly.
Yeah.
And so it's a state where like you're sponging the world like effortlessly and forging connections you would never usually forge. And sometimes you can get into a state of mind that is like that, just like naturally. And for anyone who knows that state, like as a creative person, as a human, and I think we all do it in our own ways, but there is nothing you could possibly do to improve that state. All you could do is like mollify it or dull it, but with something like alcohol.
Yeah.
That said, like you could have so much fun going out and having a drink with a friend. Alcohol has its way of freeing people up.
Yeah.
But for me, I just love the taste. Like this, I love the taste of Grammy. I'm quite a sweet tooth, so like a sweet alcoholic drink can be just the right thing that you need to have a nice day, you know?
Yeah, and there's that little combination of bitterness. It seems like your native language is music. Like English is just something you happen to conversationally pick up, but it seems like the way you sort of transliterate the world is in a very musical way. How does that affect sensory creative experiences like food? Like when you taste something, are you hearing the music in it?
So I was having this conversation with a friend the other day. He asked me the question of, you know, are you a synesthesiac? Do you experience the sort of multimodality of senses and inputs and things? And my traditional answer to that has always been no, because I think I've always believed up until recently that, you know, the only way of having that experience is to the thing that people talk about with color. You see color, I see green and I hear a D or whatever. I've never really experienced it like that before. But what I will say is, I think that the way my brain is coded sort of linguistically, for example, if you told me to add salt to my chord, I would know how to do that.
Yeah.
For me anyway, like salt is a particular experience. It's like a spiky, you know what I mean? And I can use vocabulary or sonic capacity to explain that. It's not as simple as, oh, basil leaf equals F sharp minor.
Sure. Do me a favor, taste the Toro Tartare.
Okay, Toro
Tell me what it
Tartare.
sounds like. I'll tell you what it sounds like.
Okay, great. I have no idea if chopsticks is the right. I think it's not the right
I'm going
way.
tiny spoon.
Oh,
Big tiny spoon.
I'm kind of like.
You got it. Hey, I'll spot you.
Somehow I'm.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that is amazing. You kidding me? Oh wow.
Harry Potter theme song.
that's what you're hearing. I love that. So why? Okay, I can maybe suggest why the Harry Potter theme song is what you're hearing.
Okay.
A lot of the time with magic, we have this scale called the whole tone scale, which is like do 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 do, like this kind of like there's a fairy, you know, thing. And so there's elements of that appear in that theme tune, but it's still very grounded. It's very chromatic and surprising, but it's very grounded. So I would say there's something about this to me which is like very familiar and very shareable, but also there's something that is like surprising and bright, like the sharpness of the flavor. So that actually makes a weird amount of sense to me.
I think you and I are both musical geniuses, is what we're finding out throughout this interview. Are you one of those people that can just sort of sit in a room and have a dialogue with yourself? I mean, very autodidactically, in a way that almost makes you feel like you don't need contact with other people. Like you can sort of just self-entertain. You can play the movies, play the music, cook the dish in your own head. Would that like somewhat accurately describe your experience?
I would say it definitively defines more my experience when I was smaller. I had a very strong feeling as a child, like at school, for example, where I would sort of close my eyes and imagine I could just make my own world instead. It's like make my own environment.
Same.
Or modulate the world. So it'd be like, okay, I've got like a camera, lighting fixture, I've got food, and now I'm gonna let it all play with each other. It's crazy. It really sought that feeling of, I'm gonna take the world as it is and I'm gonna transform it, like I'm gonna alchemize it, twist it up into something that feels new or interesting and weird. You don't need other people to do that. That's your process. However, I think in the last few years, even just as a musician, as a human, I've fallen in love in new ways with other people and how to play in such a way through them, not at them, but through them and using their mind too. And this album I made recently, Jesse Volume 4, I made 4 albums. Yeah, the art of twisting the world and using other people's imaginations and extending your own limbs through theirs that has always like really excited me, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's speaking of extremes, we have the pigs in a blanket over here as you're eating caviar. We'll get to that. But you also had an extreme in your first album ever, In My Room, which was you alone in your room. As you said, you're not creating in a vacuum, but you are literally creating in a room. Jesse Volume 4, you've collaborated with more than 100,000 voices on it. Is there something that really gets your goat when it comes to those two extremes? Like you've gone from complete isolation to absolute hyper collaborativization.
Yeah. One quick aside is, an interesting thing is, when you say get your goat,
Yeah.
you mean it as something that's cool.
Yeah. Is that what get your goat means?
Well, but I like the way you use it because goats are rad, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the UK, if someone gets your goat, it's like something that like gets on your nerves.
I think you're more right than I am, and I think I messed it up.
Well, I was wondering if there was a discrepancy between like US and UK, and I was kind of delighted by that.
No, I should have said butter your biscuit.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair
And then
enough.
biscuit means very different things.
Butter
to
your
both of
biscuit.
us, yeah.
We would never say that in the UK.
Exactly.
That's like a full fat US.
Tell your friends about that one.
But so the question, you were asking a question about collaboration, like ultra collaboration. I've always been deeply obsessed with the human voice. We all have one. Every voice is different. But I think my idea of a voice, what a voice is, has changed over the years. I think I used to think my voice lived here. This is my voice. I'm gonna go, oh. And now I think my voice is in my choices, like my opinions, the world as I see it.
Have you seen Happy Feet?
I love Happy Feet.
Sort of the thesis of Happy Feet.
Yeah, a little bit actually.
Yeah.
Because was it Mumble?
Mumble
Is finding his voice.
His voice isn't through physical projection.
Yeah,
It's through his little Happy
it's
Feet.
through the tippity tappity. Chopsticks. I'm gonna eat this with chopsticks. Just
I have to do it. I have to join you. Jacob, this is awesome.
Cheers.
Hey, before we get to the next course, we all got a drink and we're all gonna die, so you might as well do it out of our new Last Meals bar set. Pick your poison in our highball of rocks glasses, plus a cocktail shaker. It's 5 o'clock, right? $4.58? Whatever. Get yours now at mythical.com. Jacob, for the second course of your final meal on this earth, we have the Fiat 500 car-shaped pasta. Actually, we had to get a competing brand. This is simply, I'm gonna call it Automobiliati. This is car-shaped pasta from America. It's like the Ford Focus of pastas.
Okay, Ford Focus, yeah.
Yeah, with the bolognese on top, little Parmesan cheese on the side, and then the Almdudler, Austria's favorite herbal lemonade.
Yes. So I walked into a hotel in Vienna, 2023. I was playing a show there in July, and they had this beautiful bottle. In fact, it was kind of this color. It was like Grand Marnier color. But yeah, I was like, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. It was 11 p.m. And I never tasted anything as good as this, I think, in my life until maybe that moment. At least that's how it felt. And so I ordered a crate to London of 24 glass bottles of Almdudler, and I've never looked back since.
Some people say that the best sauce is low expectations, and you have raised my expectations so high, and I am very prepared for them to be met by Almdudlers.
Cheers. Fantastic.
Jacob Collier. Jacob,
Well,
that is a treat.
What do you think?
No, I actually think it's incredible. It is a lot. Everything in America is sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, right? Which actually really changes the mouthfeel and the way that acid travels across the palate.
Yeah.
And so this is actually like, it's incredibly bright. I don't think that I could improve on this in any shape or form.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree.
Yeah, man.
And if you're saying that, then that's really something.
The Alpine lemons, they
Yeah,
really
but
hit.
it's light, isn't it? No, this is just right for the bolog.
Tell me about the car-shaped pasta.
Oh wow. Okay. So actually, the car-shaped pasta is a newer fascination for me. The bolognese is like an age-old childhood favorite from Mama Collier. But
Yeah. Do you refer to it as spag bowl? Is that a
yeah.
British
Well,
thing?
my mum would say bolog. Just
Bolog.
bolog, straight. And I think it's probably just her. But yeah, the idea of spag bowl is familiar to me. But car-shaped pasta is something I found in the last 6 months. There's like an Italian pasta brand in the UK called Pasta Evangelists, and they offer Fiat 500 shaped pasta. And I love a good Fiat 500, especially the electric one. But I'm not like a sponsor. I just like the car.
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I was like, that's me. That's my car. And I ordered it through Pasta Evangelists, and I thought this is something people should do more. You know, a pasta could be in any shape in the world. Why not make it interesting?
I'm really fascinated by this. Please take a bite, dig in.
I will.
I'm excited. I'm going spoon on this. Steamy. This is beautiful. So car-shaped pasta. This is explicitly marketed for children. However, there's a similar pasta called radiatori, or radiator-shaped pasta, that is considered quite fancy. And it made me think about these really false binaries that we have of what is childish. A whole car is childish, but just part of a car in pasta is for adults. You've said that there are no right notes, there are no wrong notes. Why do you think people get stuck into this level of dichotomous thinking?
Well, to speak to one part of what you just said, which is really close to my heart, and something I think a lot about is children and their imaginations.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite things or behaviors in this world is when an adult will approach a child and kind of like exaggerate themselves, try and be understood.
Yeah.
Like, hey little fella, how you doing? It's like the child is looking at
I kind of like that. But
the child knows more. Yeah, right. But it's way more appropriate for adults than children, right? Children already know that you're there. It's like, thank you, okay, great. And there's this like intensely patronizing children's output of media that I'm really kind of sickened by, of like, it's just like, calm down. The world is extremely stimulating enough.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when something described as childish, it's like, childish has negative connotations, childlike often has good connotations. But I think often it's a word we use to describe something that's big and a part of the world that's complex, that's brought down to become something simple, which is like my whole thing. It's like my whole line of work is to say, look at this big world, and here is a way of you understanding this world, which is actually very simple because it's for everybody.
Yeah.
When someone says, "Oh, that's kind of childlike of you," or "That's childish of you to think like that," I pay attention because it's usually a sign I'm thinking in a helpful direction or a good direction, because it's actually kind of simplifying the world and not making it needlessly complex, as we adults just so like to do. We like to project all our layers onto the world, you know.
Yeah. I think I've heard you use the phrase, the creative adult is the child who lived on.
Who survived.
Or the child who survived. Yeah. What do you think society gets as a whole if we allow more people to have that creativity survive? Because as you said, kids are digesting this insane, neon, bright, hyperactive content, and then they're sitting in a school and people are wondering why they are misbehaving or can't sit still and just memorize the damn times tables.
Yeah.
What do you think we get as a larger society if we allow that creativity to flourish?
One of the biggest things I'd say off the top of my head is you get a whole group of people who are comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen next. And children have a beautiful relationship with the unknown and chaos because their attitude is to incorporate it.
Yeah.
Think, oh, what's that? You know, they eat it, or they put their tongue on it, or they touch it, break it. Grown-ups try to sort of compartmentalize or understand things, but often by drawing lines around things, which are extremely unhelpful and often completely made up. In adulthood now, I think in education for sure, this idea of play is almost this thing that we talk down to. Oh, it's just playing, you know. Yeah. But what if the model was flipped and play is the whole point of life? Maybe that's why we're here at all, is to come on, goof about, play with our materials, collide unusual stuff, make some relationships and connections, and then boom, we're done.
It's really interesting the way that you started your career on YouTube, where I think it was a lot more playful place more than a decade ago.
Yeah, it really was.
And now you see, I mean, I guess pressures of commerce, I don't know how else to describe it, really infect everything. I mean, frankly, I didn't start working in the YouTube business, which is weird that I even called it that, until it was like a fully fledged full-time job where I can get healthcare. I was a journalist writing for magazines. Do you think that like pressure for people to earn money, the world is changing, things are getting more expensive. Do you think that is like a, I don't know, reasonable way to describe this lack of play in society? Is people feeling that pressure? Do you think there's something bigger going on there?
I think that what we're seeing right now with, say YouTube, even 10 years ago versus now, with the dawn of algorithms and these kind of more rigid and competitive systems for our attention, is we're left with a sort of exaggerated and somewhat manipulated version of ourselves where we're kind of twisted into unusual shapes, car shapes. It was a different place 10 years ago, YouTube, because it was more of like a canvas. You could say, well, I'll put this thing up that I've made, and the people who find it, well, those are the people who are going to be my main messages, and I'm going to make it for those people. Whereas now you've got a lot of artists, creators, people of the world making things, displaying themselves for not people, but these algorithms which decide what is worthy of attention and what's not. But I think you have two main currencies in your life. You have your attention and you have your time. And with those two things, you can literally build any world you could possibly imagine. And if you want any evidence as to how important your attention is, look how desperate corporations are for it. They will extend themselves wildly, spend billions, trillions of dollars just for a little tiny bit of your attention.
An almdoodler could get in on this attention.
No, exactly. Yeah, thanks, almdoodler.
You hold an interesting record at the Grammys, which is you have the only, I believe, 2 albums that have been nominated for Album of the Year without ever having charted. You're talking about competing for people's attention. You certainly have a lot of it, but not on a very specific level that a lot of these other massive pop stars have. However, the people at the Grammys have obviously recognized that, and a lot of some of the world's best, most famous musicians. Is that a badge that you wear with honor?
Oh yeah. It excites me really deeply that an album as weird as this, and as radically inclusive as this, can be kind of placed alongside such other sort of luminary musicians and be called one of the albums that represents this year. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited by people who make non-formulaic work. Creatives and brands and also they demand a lot of you. They demand that you conform to the thing that it is, that the music is, or they demand that you change or modulate yourself into some other structure. You know, it's like, are you going to join the cult or not, sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a cult and like an inclusive movement.
I will say that's a great thing for a cult leader to say.
Yeah.
You know,
right,
this
right,
certainly
right.
isn't a cult.
Sus.
This is an inclusive movement.
Yeah. So at my concerts, one of the things I'm most proud of, more proud than any kind of streaming numbers or Grammys or anything, is just the audience at a show. You've got people from age 5 to age 95. In fact, there was a lady last year who turned 100 at one of my shows, and we all sang a happy birthday. It was amazing. You've got people of all walks of life, and they all come and they dress in weird colors, and they're really themselves. And I'm very proud of this environment that I've been able to curate, where people feel like that's possible for them. I don't want them to be more like me. I want them to be more like them.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, my biggest heroes, Stevie Wonder, Bobby McFerrin, people like that, I never listened to them and thought, I want to be like Stevie Wonder. I thought, I love this so much that when I grow up, I want to be Jacob. And that to me is like the truest inspiration I could ever think to provide for people.
Just to share an anecdote, executive producer Annalise went to one of your shows, and she shared a story that after you left, after you did the encore, they were playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and everybody just stayed there singing and dancing.
Yeah.
Even when the music went out, people kept singing a cappella as much as they could remember. We stumbled upon more videos of that happening completely independently at other shows. So I think you've attracted the right kind of people. Even when you're gone, the music stays with them.
Oh, well, one thing I'd love to do at the end of every show, it's a great thought.
Doing it.
It's a great thought. I'm fully sending this.
This is like midday, like I don't need the hard liquor anymore. Let's water it down a little
Let's
bit. with
just
the
chill,
almond
man.
butter.
Let's be like these two, you know? But I always blast September, Earth, Wind and Fire, at the end of every show, because it's the best song in the world, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a moment where people know that it's coming up. People who really know that it's coming in. But in venues where it's just like a pit, people always form like a conga line and they'll move around the conga line. I did not tell them to do this. It's just something they did by themselves. But I love it so much. It's so special.
Jacob, for course 3, we have the giant exotic fruit platter, comma, the more peculiar the better. We have some Cubano melon here. We have yellow pitaya or dragon fruit, pink pitaya. We have the passion fruit, the lilikoi. We have the white strawberries. We have kiwi. We have star fruit. We have donut peaches. We have lemon plums. Those are a personal favorite. We have fresh guava. We have hoshigaki persimmons. This is a hachia persimmon that has been actually fermented with mold, almost like a salami. We have mango. We have mandarin quats. It's a combination of a kumquat and a mandarin. I was calling them cumgerines for a while, and it was making people uncomfortable.
That's a little strange.
Thank you so much. We have gooseberries.
Gooseberries.
Oh, this is lychee.
Lychees,
and
yep.
There are some smaller ones that are called longan, which is actually my favorite fruit of all time.
Really?
And then, of course, cucumbers cut into stars. We have the silver candy pearls, or silver draggies, I believe they're called. And then a tiny little glass of limoncello.
This is what dreams are made of.
Truly is.
Josh.
Where would you start in this ensemble?
I haven't eaten a lychee in like 2.5 years, so I'll start there.
Jump in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Boom.
Never cheers the lychee. This feels weird.
Even better than I remember.
I'm curious, when you explore the world of music, do you notice these universal themes? Because you kind of seem like a mad scientist at trying to like tap into a universal frequency in the universe. Have you found it yet?
I have found it.
Where? Cameroon?
It's this. Boop. That's it.
Do we catch that? No? He was never here!
No.
But do you see these like commonalities among cultures?
Yes, I do. A way I've come to explain this to myself and others is the idea of different axes by which you can measure sound. And at the simplest form, these are very simple and very universal. So for example, the idea of high and low, everyone understands that, big and small. Did you ever come across the idea of Bobo and Kiki?
Yeah.
So this idea that kind of universally, there are shapes. So here we go, look. Bobo and Kiki, right?
Absolutely.
These principles to me make everything. And actually one thing that I've really learned from incorporating my audiences with no rehearsal in the music is that your job is to provide things so inevitably simple and easy to understand that everybody can do it effortlessly and intuitively, but without you telling them what's going on. So I've spent the last few years kind of deconstructing what's at the heart of what's going on. I think a lot of music comes down to speech and the history of our response to emphasis and melody, and I think a lot of rhythm exists in the body. It's just like actually how we move in time.
Yeah.
And harmony, those being the three main relationships, I think with music that I've paid attention to, melody, rhythm, and harmony. Harmony is like the relationship between things in the world. How one thing and another thing combine. It's food, it's flavor, it's like That's beautiful. And so music and life are so similar. You know, you look inside music and you find mathematics and physics and history and geography and all these principles. It's like unending amounts of detail that reflect life and the universe. So it's no wonder people respond to it so well. I would say food is very similar.
I will say the arc of this particular experience is interesting because this, though, is beautiful, bright, verdant, full of life. And then we have this, which seems like something an Italian futurist with really upsetting politics would have wanted to eat.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on with the silver cake decorating balls?
I mean, I think back to when I was small. A lot of what drives us is our earliest memories.
It's a grabber.
What is that?
It's to grab them. This is how you decorate a cake. You would place it and you would just...
Oh, it's a grabber.
Just kind of...
That hurts a little bit.
It's immediately not great for mouse.
I immediately grabbed my finger. I was like, oh.
It's so much sharper than I thought it would be.
I don't know. I have fond memories of making cakes. My mum would make fairy cakes and we'd put icing on, and then the final touches, one silver ball, and then you really know it's complete. But look at it. It's extremely, it's a very visceral, visual thing.
Wait.
It's hard to really taste it though.
Sure is. I was thinking about the word genius and how so many people have called you a genius from such a young age. I thought about myself saying it to you, and I felt really weird about it. I tried to interrogate why. I think when you call somebody a genius, you're immediately putting up this wall, saying that like, oh, you think so differently from me that I can no longer empathize with you and your experiences. And it feels like something that's really isolating. Did you feel that isolated when you were a kid because of that?
Yeah, I think I felt positive and negative isolation. I think at its best, it was the thing that we were talking about earlier on with making your own world. I love this like chill kind of like frat.
Why does it taste like metal though?
Yeah, well, I can see why.
Yeah, I guess.
At school, I especially felt isolated because the way my mind worked and what kind of like lit it up and turned it on was different from other people. I think it's like I wasn't really interested in like pop culture or sports or the things that other kids, other boys wanted to talk about. I was interested in like what happens if you put these two notes together, and isn't that a funky situation,
Yeah.
But if you look at other artists in my position in the industry, I don't necessarily have a lot in common with them. But I think I'm just also just a person. Like I'm just like a person on earth trying to make sense of the world like everybody else. So I love the idea that when you walk down the street, every single person you see has something in common with you. Every single person. It could be like you both like, you both love baked beans, or you both...
More common where you're from than when I'm from, but yeah.
I mean, everyone in the UK likes baked beans on toast. It's like, even the smallest of things, there are always ways you can interact and connect with people, and I really love that idea, and music is an efficient way of finding those connections, I think, but like everyone else, I'm looking for those connections that are most meaningful, and then building off the back of those into hopefully create more connections that are more meaningful, and so on and so forth,
Yeah. Talk about the people who really did encourage that level of creativity in your life when you were young, and it sounds like your mom was certainly that. She was a music conductor and really encouraged you to think very freely and express that. Your dad's been out of your life for quite a long time. You describe him as more fearful, liturgical, disciplinarian. At least as I've gotten older, I've noticed a lot of parts of both my parents rearing up in me in a way that scares me a little bit.
I think we all do.
Yeah. Watching you and your mom collaborate together, it's like, oh my God, you are her son. What are the parts of your dad that you've seen rearing in you?
It's a big question. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think all of us in life have this mixture of like sort of order and chaos, and sort of in a very, very binary way, I would say that that's my two parents. But in a weird other way, I think that some people live their life with fear, like with a lot of fear, and those people have a hard time because fear creates illusions in your vista. And we were saying earlier on about how you can make whatever world you want with your attention, but if your attention is on parts of yourself or others that are hard to perceive, that's a difficult place to build a life from, or build a relationship from. So I think my relationship with him when I was small was hard because there was that fear. There were boundaries that I think he'd build around him to protect him, and so I had to build those to protect me. I think it scares me to grow older and become an adult and realize that some of those barriers are still there. And I think a lot about the idea of being really small. I think all of us have an experience of this. But when you're 5 years old, you do something to protect yourself. You say, I'm going to build a wall here. I'm going to close off, and that's how I'm going to survive. Otherwise, I'm going to die. I'm going to survive. And congratulations, you survived. But then you get to age 30, like I'm now, and it's like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I don't need that wall there anymore. I think both sides are definitely in me. And as same as everyone else, I'm investigating constantly what those are and how I can use them to make myself and the world better.
Yeah, and I think investigating those things with a lack of judgment, because I've found myself, I've always had such a massive chip on my shoulder. I often view a lot of my motivations as negative, and I always had a bit of a judgment on that, and I've sort of started asking myself the question,
is there such a thing as a negative motivation?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I tend to view creativity as coming from this sense of like light and love, but like you're somebody who you're so creative, but you're also incredibly driven and super prolific. I've always associated that, and maybe this is a misnomer, with coming from a bit of a darker place, a place of lack of wanting.
I think everyone knows that feeling in their own way.
Yeah.
I think for me there's a real power not just to creating from the optimistic place, but from creating from the place that's raw and real and strange and dark. I often say this to people when they ask about this. It's like, where does one find your inspiration? It's like, go to the darkest corners of your psyche and just check it out without judgment. Just be like, what's going on over here? Whoa, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes the only way you can really find those places is not by going into the dark with blinkers on, but it's actually just by playing. You play, but you radically incorporate. And as you play, your unconscious will be like, whoa, it'll show itself in unusual ways, and you'll be like, wow, I didn't realize that was within me. On both sides, and the dangerous, weird stuff, and also the unbelievably deep and beautiful, joyous stuff. Yeah, I think some of my most interesting ideas come from a friction between things that are bright and things that are dark, or things that I understand and things that I don't quite understand. And we're never going to get to the point where we understand everything, hopefully, because that would be such a shame. but that dance is perpetually intriguing to me.
Certainly not going to get there before you die.
Yeah.
Ready to go?
I'd say.
Ready to go to course number 4?
Oh, not really. I kind of want to stay here forever.
We'll eat. The camera's running out of battery. I've been enjoying grabbing the gooseberries with the little candy grabber.
Oh, I'm gonna have a go at that.
It kind of pierces it a little bit, but you can get it.
What is course number 4?
Jacob, for the final course, your final meal on this earth, we have the vegan rhubarb crumble. We have some rhubarb cooked down in there, a little bit of sugar syrup, some fresh oats on top of there. And then we have fresh cinnamon and ginger ice cream. We made a creme anglaise base with fresh Saigon cinnamon in there, some dried ginger, candied ginger on top, little cinnamon stick on there. And then we have the sauterne. This is Chateau Sud-Bureau 2011, and there's a bit of an interesting story behind the sauterne. I was at a restaurant that's owned by an 18-time Grammy Award winner. His name is Manny Morokin, and the sommelier there was telling me about a sauterne. I didn't bring it up, and I said, hey, I'm actually gonna be serving a sauterne to a fellow multi-time Grammy winner. Do you have one that would be, I don't know, appropriate for a musical genius, which is probably why I said I wouldn't call you the G word. And so he gave me this 2011. You mentioned that the color is a little bit deeper and darker. So shout out to Matthias, who told me that this one, it's a very aged sauterne, but it finishes deceptively light and bright, so it kind of should take you on more of a journey of your classic sweet French dessert wine.
Well,
so
that's a thrill.
There's the story. It was incredible.
That's amazing.
I was watching a jazz trio as this was all happening, and I felt like it was, I don't know, some sort of cosmic force bringing it together.
Totally cosmic force. So this is definitely the most aged sauterne I've ever had. I usually have more like 2021, 2022 vibe.
Yeah. When did sauterne
really
first butter your biscuit?
Nicely put. I often frequent, there's a hotel in England, on the coast of England, in the Norfolk, like the North Norfolk coast. It's called the Blakeney Hotel. And it's a very classic, very beautiful, very historic place. And I've been going there for about 15 years, cheers. And they serve sauterne, and it kind of changed my life.
Wow. It is super deep, dark, very amber and honeysuckle, but then you do get that like floral elderflower finish on it.
Some people, I think, would take a sip of that and be like, it's too sweet. But that for me is just astoundingly great.
Vegan rhubarb crumble.
Yeah.
None of the other food was vegan. Why the veganness on the rhubarb crumble?
It's a great question. It's almost just like baked into the request at this point because my whole family is like dairy free. So with crumble, which is meat free, it's easy to say. It's vegan. It's fine. Milk doesn't sit too well for me. Cheese doesn't sit too well for me. If this is anything like the crumble I have at home, which it looks like it very much is, then it's just like a frisson of like delight, you know?
I'm excited. Please, let me serve you up. Here, I'll take your bowl.
Okay, amazing. Oh, thanks very much.
Of course. And then the ice cream. This is certainly not vegan. There is a lot of cream, a lot of eggs in there.
I love that in ice cream only. People make fun of me because I'm selectively dairy free, you know.
I know there's, what is it, de gustibus non est disputandum. There's no disputing matters of taste, man.
Oh, there you go. And this, I mean, I've never had cinnamon and ginger ice cream, as I said before.
Yeah, how did you end up coming up with this? Is it just something new that you wanted to try on your deathbed?
Well, I've had cinnamon ice cream and I've had ginger ice cream, and I just figured, well, why not collide them?
I think this is kind of the ice cream for sickos.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's spicy from both things.
Really good.
A close friend and mentor, Quincy Jones, passed away relatively recently. You had an incredible tribute to him at the Grammys. I'm curious how you grieve through the language of music.
He was one of those glorious champions in life who never dictates what must be done. He just creates the conditions for the good stuff to happen, such as only unconditional support can ever really do. Some people might, knowing Quincy's kind of past in the industry and being the Trojan that he is, would imagine that he'd come in and muscle around and bully me to do whatever. And he just was just like, you know what? It's Jacob, trust him, let him do his thing. And I didn't know what the thing was, but I could feel it. And so I pursued it. And he was able to just keep creating. He opened so many doors for me. And he treated me with so much kind of respect, I suppose. And he made the world available to me in a beautiful way. And I was on tour and my phone just starts blowing up. It's like, hey, are you okay, man? Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I'm thinking, what's going on? It turns out, Quincy's passed. I kind of examined if and where the sadness existed, And in a strange way, it's only actually been this week that I've been able to meet that sadness in a sense, because I'm in LA, hadn't been to LA since he passed. Quincy's always at the Grammys. He's the king of the Grammys. It's like 80-time nominated or something ridiculous. As of right now, I haven't sat down and felt just a lot of sadness. I think I've felt a huge amount of gratitude. If there's a legacy I would ever hope to leave, I look to his as one of the greatest examples of that, because it's a human one. It's one of humor and depth and revolution and courage and collaboration and evolution. Still kind of in awe that whole chapter happened, but all those years he was this omnipresent force of good for me.
It's interesting when you say that chapter happened, because it sounds like that chapter is still happening, because the way that he lives on in you, right, in all of the people that he touched in that way. When you think about your own sort of death, what do you think that legacy will ultimately be? I know Quincy had always said to you, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, however. What do you think happens when you die? Do you sort of stay up in that metaphysical space? Do you technically still exist because of the imprint you've had on the world?
Sure.
The world will never be the same because Jacob Collier existed, ergo you have everlasting life.
I don't think I can design a legacy. You can't decide to have one. If there's any world where the things I make as me, a person, can help another person see themselves, in some way reflected in a way that helps them be alive, then I feel like I've done my job.
Maybe your most astounding thing that you do is the audience choir, where you've done it at Glastonbury with tens of thousands of people. I was thinking about what exactly makes us love and revere artists, athletes, chefs, any sort of creative or someone doing something spectacular. And to me, it's because it reminds everyone of what the general human spirit is capable of. But that tends to be a one-sided relationship. You watch somebody catch a ball, sing a beautiful aria. You're not doing it, but you have given people the ability, or at least showed them the mirror and reflection that you yourself and us as a collective are capable of something beautiful. And I think that's genuine. It's actual magic, right? To create that feeling in somebody, truly.
My earliest memories as a kid were of watching my mother do that. So she would have an orchestra and she would go, and then suddenly it's like casting a spell. It's like the music would begin, and not only would people leave feeling like they'd played the music and it was great, but they'd feel better about themselves. They'd feel more connected. They'd feel more open. They'd have more humor. They'd just be more delighted and delightful. So that was my first experience of music. It wasn't now sit at the piano and you practice your D major scale, or if you get it wrong, you suck. It was that. The audience choir, as I like to call it, has been this thing that I've been obsessed with and evolving for about 6 years now. And my job is to provide like a context, a musical context where people who are singing, whether they call themselves musicians or not, they're all welcome. And over 50% of them know where it's moving at any one time, so that they move as this body. And it's just extraordinary. And I have a very particular view of it from stage that no one else really has, which is I get the best seat in the house. Every night I go, wow, 5,000 people, 10,000 people. At the end of last year, it's 15,000 people singing together at me. These people have never assembled before. They will never assemble again. They are strangers. They are disparate and across all these different ages and backgrounds, but they are singing as one. It's one instrument. It's one body. Wow, what an amazing feeling. I think at my best, I hope that I can just keep on making spaces for people to feel like they can come in and they can connect, they can be a part of the thing, and they can walk away with a feeling that means something to them.
Yeah. I always think of it in very like bare bones scientific terms, despite the fact that I failed AP chemistry. Bear with me. Like the point of life is just to make the good chemical spray in your brain more than the bad chemical. Just keep those balances up, inspire that in other people, and I think it comes back to you.
And cultivate those forces around you too.
Absolutely.
Because there's this experience, and then there's this experience, and they're actually the same.
100%.
We're all breathing the same air, and we all came from the same place, and we're all made of the same stardust. So it's just kind of like this important, really crucial realization that I'm coming to, really embodying and like understanding, which is that we are only as strong as the way we make other people feel.
Does that make you more or less afraid of your own death?
I think it's reassuring to think in that way.
100%, yeah.
I don't feel the need to hang around. I don't feel like, you sing my songs, nothing like that.
He did that to me in the green room. He said, "You sing my songs or else."
You sing my songs, yeah. It's just kind of like you sing your songs, and I'm cool.
You also don't want that. But these are the songs, you know what I mean?
Right. Don't sing your songs.
You ready to get to the lightning round?
Okay.
Who's the one person, dead or alive, you'd want to share your actual last meal with?
The first person that comes to mind, and I wouldn't think I'm alone in saying this, would be David Attenborough. Man, I'd love to speak to that man about what he's learned and how he feels and how things have changed.
What song do you want to be played at your funeral?
September by Earth, Wind and Fire.
And I'll be dancing, not on your grave, but adjacent to it. What's the weirdest snack you keep stocked on your tour bus?
The weirdest snack. I mean, okay, I'm a big honey fan. There was a time when I was 14 years old, where I would have 1 spoonful of honey from 7 jars of honey every day. And then I started getting this like weird fungus growing on my tongue.
Incredible.
That was like, had branches and leaves and shit. And I was like, I've got to stop. Anyway, I still absolutely love honey. And now I'm like way under control. So on the tour bus, we have like as much honey as we can. I often have Manuka honey on the rider. So like the maximum strength Manuka honey. And like 24/7, it's always going to go down well,
What's your biggest fear?
Apathy, probably. My own apathy.
Yeah.
The only place at the end of that road is just darkness and disconnection. It doesn't lead you to truth.
Who's your dream eulogizer at your funeral?
Do they have to be alive?
Absolutely not. Bring him back.
Well, then Alan Watts. Yeah, Alan Watts, who speaks so beautifully about death. I don't know if you've heard him speak about it, but he's my favorite sort of death speaker that I've come across, I think.
Your funeral's gonna be lit. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Me too. I can't wait.
You've collaborated with everyone from Bulgarian State Television female vocal choir to Hans Zimmer for the Boss Baby soundtrack. What's one collab you still have your sights set on?
Rosalia.
Is that coming up? Is that a little teaser?
I hope so. I mean, it's not currently on the cards, but hopefully it's on the cards.
Which Quincy Jones quote do you think you're most going to remember going forward?
There's one I often think about. Well, there's so many with Quincy, but Quincy would often say, play it, don't say it.
What's your greatest regret in life?
The ways in which the people I love have had to sacrifice for me to be able to be the me that I am.
Yeah. Finally, Jacob, are you happy?
I am happy, yeah.
Well, I am absolutely happy that I got to share this meal with you. If you want to look in that camera right there and deliver your last words.
Oh, I'd have to sit down and think about this for longer than a distracted hour. But I think what I'd maybe say is, like, to anybody who wants to change the world, it might feel like the world that's most worth changing is the world outside of you. It may also feel like the way to change the world is to stand against people or stand against things and to hold up a flag and say, I'm not this and I'm not that. But I would say that, first of all, the only world you can ever change is your own world, and the only world you can ever build is your own world, and your world is worth building, and your imagination is worth taking seriously. So please do that for the sake of everybody. Everybody needs you to speak from that place and articulate that for us, because that's why you're here. And to the second point I made, I think that sometimes the most brave, irreverent, courageous, counterculture, world-changing thing you can actually do is be kind and be gentle. Because I think that in a world where standing against things is such the way that people identify, standing for yourself and being kind to people and being willing to be wrong and to change shape and change your mind, but just knowing that you are enough, you have enough of what you need always to do the next piece of learning that you need to do. As the great Kay Tempest once said, nothing I've learned could prepare me for everything else that needs learning. If you show up and be kind and know yourself, then you've done 100% of your job and your duty as a human. And so maybe there's something in that I would say.
Jacob, I think that's it. I think you did it. Imagine if we gave you time to prepare, my God. No, that was Really beautiful, man. This whole meal was beautiful. Your perspective, your art, everything is absolutely fantastic, man. Everyone, make sure to check out Jacob Collier on where do they check you out?
In the cinnamon and ginger ice cream flavors in restaurants near you, and I don't know, wherever you find me, I'll be there.
You'll see him around. Hey, cheers, man. This is incredible, truly.
Thanks. Cheers.
L'chaim. The perfect way to elevate all of your meals. The Last Meals bar set is available now at mythical.com.